No. You're going to have a short stretch break at the end of this session. Okay? So first I want to introduce Jose to everyone. Jose is a force. He was born in 1969, and he started cooking at the age of 15. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these Wikipedia facts.
No, it's fake news is okay.
And you entered culinary school at the age of 15. He was already intent on becoming a chef. To complete the required Spanish military requirement, he became a chef for a Spanish admiral. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Was he nice?
Mm-hmm.
At 19, he got a job at the famed El Bulli restaurant, and he worked for a very tough boss, Ferran Adria, who fired him after a very short time. Now, why did you get fired?
No, 3 years later.
Oh, 2 or 3 years?
We only have 14 minutes.
Okay. We'll get there. But he has won innumerable honors in his chef's career. He has many restaurants. How many restaurants?
30-something.
37 restaurants in America. All in America?
Yeah, somewhere
And
else.
somehow, in 2010, something changed. You started the World Central Kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the World Central Kitchen.
Well, the earthquake happened in Port-au-Prince. You all saw the images, and next thing I did was, it took me a few weeks. I got on a plane, I landed in Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo. I went to Port-au-Prince, and I joined a local NGO from Spain, and I began helping cook in the camps they were managing. And after that moment is the moment that they said, we need a specialized NGO that specializes specifically in feeding people in emergencies. And that's how World Central Kitchen began.
And how many meals did you serve, do you estimate, in Haiti at that time?
There was, tens of thousands. I mean, again, if you do 1,000, 2,000 meals a day, and you are there a few weeks,
Where did you get your supplies? I went to Haiti during that time.
Everybody keeps asking always in emergencies, where do you get your supplies? In Puerto Rico. A month after, I had people who are supposed to be the experts on feeding people, who asked me, Jose, we are so impressed that you guys are able to feed people. How did you get the food? I'm like, what? I began almost crying. I say, it's very simple. This is America. You find the private company that is in charge of distributing food and importing food. You give them your credit card. You fill up a line of credit. And then you tell them, I need food. And tell me what happens next. That you get your food immediately. So I say now this jokingly, but a degree sometimes is to cry. Things are around us. We are a big network of people, especially in America. Nobody should ever go hungry 1 hour after an emergency. We only need organization. We need less planning. We need less big room of people with Excel spreadsheets, which I think are the biggest enemy of providing aid to people, because you know how long it takes you to make an Excel spreadsheet? Weeks. What we do is we don't plan. We're cooks. We start cooking. We start feeding. The plan shows up in the process of feeding one person at a time.
Now, I've met Jose's wife. And Jose's wife prays every night for no disasters, no natural disasters, because she doesn't know where her husband is going to be the next day. When did you say first, I love to feed the few, but even more, I love to feed the many? Is that a true quote?
Yeah.
When did you say that first?
Probably with a tequila in my hand. My business partners are not too happy when I heard that, but it's true. I do believe every one of you in this audience. I don't know where you come from. I don't know your talents, but you have a talent. And it's very simple sometimes only to dream. How can you put that talent beyond your expertise and your surrounding area of control when something else happens? Everybody has a talent. In the case of a cook, it's simple. Yes, we do feed the few. And believe me, it's chaos. Yes, because you have people that write on Yelp all the time. You have people that criticize you all the time in a restaurant. I don't want garlic on my garlic shrimp. I don't want garlic or shrimp in the garlic shrimp. Like what? Imagine that multiplied by hundreds of you ordering at the same time. So a kitchen is like chaos. So cooks like me, we are genetically engineered to adapt to chaos. If we move our expertise away from the restaurant and we bring it to the world, we can be a good force of change to feed the many. I just came back from Mozambique. We opened 2 kitchens in Beira. I think last week we reached 250,000 meals. We are there in 12 camps, refugee camps.
There was a cyclone there, right? A bad cyclone.
And for me it was fascinating to see how many things my teams were missing, but how they were able to adapt. We don't plan, I said before, we start cooking. But what World Central Kitchen does, what the men and women that are this kind of big team of cooks that feed people when there is need, is that for us, adaptation is the word that wins the day. If you plan too much, I'm planning everything, right? It's like you are trying to have a baby. You don't know if it's a boy, but you prepare only for a girl because you dream of a girl and the doctor told you a girl. Then it's a boy. What happened? You have to go back to change everything, right? Well, if you are able just to do the same in culinary, we adapt. We adapt. Means that we don't have hardware, we have software. We don't arrive with kitchens. Why? Because if we have the kitchens, probably they have to be shipped, and maybe the port is totally destroyed. Maybe the airport is unfunctioning. So I'm waiting for 1 week, 2 weeks for my kitchens that are supposed to come from the air. When we arrive with software, our bodies and our ideas, we are able to adapt to any situation anywhere we go.
And in Puerto Rico, you served something like 3.6 million meals. Over what period of time?
A few weeks. The initial weeks. We went from 1 kitchen to 26. Actually, I shouldn't be telling you. You should buy my book. We fed an island. 100% of the proceeds go to World Central Kitchen. But we went from 1 kitchen to 26. At one moment, we were operating 18 kitchens at once. We went from 20 friends the first day to 25,000 army of men and women feeding the people. We went from 1,000 meals a day to 150,000 meals a day. At one point, we were distributing food in 937 daily points of distribution. At the end, we almost reached over 4 million meals. At the end, bigger problems, they have very simple solutions. Stop planning in these situations and start cooking. Just apply the same to your world and you'll see how much easier life is.
What was the most popular thing that you served in Puerto Rico?
Everything.
Everything.
Everywhere we go, we try always to cook with the locals. And there we had the best chefs of Puerto Rico that came, and we became this amazing family. So, arroz con pollo, pastelón de carne, you name it, the traditional dishes of, obviously we will have to adapt to what we had. But again, usually when you adapt, everything seems to be showing up.
I recently went to Puerto Rico with Jose. He's like a god down there because he did save a tremendous number of lives himself and his group, and it was just amazing the reverence that was just served to you. It was amazing. And he's now. Why don't you tell us about the gardens that you're helping a new kind of sustainability in Puerto Rico?
Well, you visit some of them. We call it plow to plate. Even I think the name is terrible, but all my teams, they love it. When I don't understand a word, plow, I don't understand it. So I have a hard time. But Plow to Plate is a program we actually announced with the Clinton Foundation, with Secretary Clinton and President Clinton recently, $4 million. So as we move away from feeding people in need, we saw that we had a role to play. Puerto Rico imports 90% of their food. And we are trying to help to make sure we bring that number down. That's pure food security, making sure that people don't leave the island, that they have something to do, that they are vested, that they are invested in their island. So it's plenty of good farmers that they had a problem getting loans, getting a micro loan. And at the end, what we began doing is just giving them grants. So we did already over 40 farms last year. We are going to do another 40, 50 this year. By the year 2011, with this $4 million US we announced a few months ago, we're going to be reaching 240 farms. That is a mix of hydroponics, tree farms, fishing coves, etc., to make sure that the entire island is more or less covered, and that we kind of emphasize that it's important that one way forward for Puerto Rico is that they will become food independent and don't have to pay so much for all the food that they bring in, especially with the Jones Act. That means that an American territory, Americans like you and me, pays more for their food than the surrounding islands in the Caribbean. This is not a Republican or a Democrat. This is something like it's an American. We cannot be allowing that Puerto Rico for the last many years, the last century, is been paying 10, 20, 30% more for the same foods that other islands pay all this much less. So cannot be anymore, and we need to make sure that Puerto Rico becomes at the same level field as every other island in the Caribbean and the rest of America. When you hear that they are in debt, when you hear they are poor, that they have problems, that's not the only reason. But the Jones Act, is one very important reason why Puerto Rico is in such a economic turmoil.
What I really am impressed about with you, Jose, is that you do pay attention to what's behind the problem, not only the natural disaster, but behind that. And last November, you traveled to California to feed the evacuees during the massive wildfires. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Well, when the Ventura fire happened, we activated the team very quickly. We were actually cooking in Ventura in the mission of Buenaventura, which for me was very special because it was funded by Spaniards, Spanish priests, and I'm not going to get if they did a good job or not. But I was very happy we were cooking on the mission. The fires kept moving north. We kept moving with the fires. We were feeding the different shelters run by the Red Cross. I think the Red Cross in California is one of the best chapters of the Red Cross anywhere in the country, probably anywhere in the world. We were feeding firefighters. Then the Chico fires happened too. We were there too. So we've kind of specialized in adapting to the fires. We have a very good team in California. And I hope we don't have to be ever activated again. But the last 2 years,
do you put out a word asking for volunteers to come and help you?
We began using technology in a very smart way to try to get volunteers that they know how to sign in, and then what's their role once they come to us. So technology is helping us to. In our organization, we only have like 16 people on payroll right now. That for the amount of things we do, we're in Tijuana, we are in Colombia. We're about maybe thinking one day of going in soon into Venezuela. We came back from Indonesia. But the team is very small for the amount of things we do. But what happened is we are very good into growing with volunteers we have on call, like they are almost like part-time, and then others volunteers that they join us per event.
And your social media is very sophisticated too, because you promote in different languages.
Yeah, well, not as sophisticated as President Trump, but sophisticated enough. Sophisticated enough to reach the people when we need to reach them. Probably I'm supposed to use my social media more to promote my restaurants and my books, and I have a vegetable book coming. You can pre-order. But to me, quite frankly, it gives me even more pleasure. Used to be using it for spreading the word when we need help, when we need aid, when we need support, and that it's a good way to be using. And
in March, you went to Nebraska. There were floods. You went.
Yeah.
And how was that? How do you deal with floodwaters?
The floods were, as you saw on TV again. But you know what happened with those moments that everybody forgets, because a new thing happens and everybody forgets what happened. Lately, let me tell you who is forgotten. The people that were the original citizens of this land of ours, the tribes. The tribes are totally forgotten. The tribes are totally put aside.
On the reservations,
for example, in North Carolina is the Lambie tribe. They were totally forgotten, totally unhelped. So we start kind of looking always in these scenarios if there are tribes, because usually the government or the state, it seems they don't remember them when those tragedies happen. So in Nebraska, we began feeding some people in the shelters again. We're an organization that we like to go to the poor neighborhoods. You know what happened in those tragedies? That the poor people all of a sudden have no job, the satellite signal is down, no phone, the banks are shut down. If they got a check, they cannot even cash it. But if not, probably they're not going to get the check for a month. They have no access to the ATM because the closest ATM is far away. The bus system is shut down. All of a sudden, you have entire populations, buckets, that they are totally forgotten in certain neighborhoods. And they are there, forgotten. Sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. We are specializing in identifying those populations, and we go there with food trucks, and we make sure that we establish contact, and we start going every day until the situation goes back to normal. Electricity comes back, the bus system starts running, et cetera, et cetera. That's the area we try to concentrate, and we use technology in a way that, you know how you learn who are the poorest sometimes very quickly? If you come into a region you don't know, you try to get from the credit card company what areas use credit card and what areas don't use credit card. The ones that don't use credit card, those are or super, super rich people that pay cash and probably doing something illegal. Or, no, it's a joke. Or the very poor people that have nothing. Then you can find who has SNAPs, the supplemental nutrition, what we know as food stamps. And when you know who has food stamps, those are the areas that you have to be helping because they are the ones in the most need of receiving a humble plate of food.
Well, you've been, at your age, he's not even 50 years old, and he's done so much. 37 restaurants. You just opened at Hudson Yards, an amazing.
Mercado Libre de Spain.
Yes, really fantastic place. And what's the source of your energy? What do you eat every day? What do you drink every day?
Well, I'm well fed. If something happens and we run out of food, I got you covered, people. I only eat good food. I can tell you that. Maybe it's the gazpacho of my wife, which gives me superpowers. Maybe it's the orange juice that she squeezes for me every morning. But you know, I think we only live once, and life is beautiful. And anytime, you know, I feel I can do something else.
What's your ultimate goal? Is it to teach countries how to sustain life by growing the right foods?
My ultimate goal, probably every one of us, we should have one. I think we should be loud, and we should look like a little bit crazy, and a little bit even pretentious. Because I don't believe we're going to be solving any of the issues we're trying to solve in this forum if we are not crazy in the aim of what we're trying to do. Me, I would like to tell you, I would love to be part of coming up with a system to end hunger in the world. And I don't mind that you tell me you are pretentious and crazy. Because if we don't start doing that thinking, nothing is going to happen. So in my world, I know how we can do this. 3 billion people in the planet still cook with charcoal or wood. What you guys do on the weekends for your friends on Sunday Super Bowl, 3 billion people in the planet, they do it because it's the only way for them to feed their families. Until we don't end those 3 billion people stopping cooking with fossil fuels, and we give them the same technology we have in our homes, the same clean technology, the same clean gas, so they can feed their families in a clean way, poverty and hunger will never end. What the World Bank is claiming, that we are going to fight and end hunger, is a big lie if the World Bank and other institutions don't put a bigger emphasis, as a main objective to end fossil fuel cooking. Women die. Young girls, because the smoke they inhale, young girls don't go to school because they send them to the forest and they're raped and they don't receive education because they are picking up water or wood. The deforestation creates problems. The top land is washed away when rains, so they don't have the top soil. It's no farming production. The top soil makes the water dirty. It's no coral, it's no reef, it's no baby fish, it's no fishing industry. Then it's no scuba divers, then it's no tourism. Everything starts with a clean cooking. Healthy mothers, healthy children, young daughters that go to school and they have hope for a better tomorrow. trees grow in the forest, farms began producing 10 times fold, the fishing industry thrives, tourism shows up, the circle of life begins with a humble clean cook stove. That will be my dream, to bring a kitchen that is clean, the same one I have at home, to every single family in the world.
So you say you love life, but you're hopeful. Thank you, Jose. Do you balance everything, Jose?
No, I'm totally unbalanced.
I think we got that.
Totally unbalanced. The other day I went to a late night TV show, and I cannot share more than that, but I gave somebody a book and I got a joint in exchange. Well, that happened. That's no joke. That happened. And then my life was even more unbalanced. I'm like, really? That's what you give in exchange now for a book? But maybe I should try it. I don't know. But my life is balanced because I have an amazing group of people. Take a look at all of us in this room. Take a look at what Mark has done, bringing us all of us together. We need to understand the power that having one next to each other has. Not only in our lives. I wouldn't make it without my wife and my children. But then without my CEO and my team. We are who we are thanks to the people we have around us. And we need to start recognizing that value. Needs to be less of what we are seeing today coming from DC. It's not about I, the person, but about we, the people. And that's what we all need to be believing in.
Thank you very much. And now, something probably you all need, you have only 5 minutes, so don't go far away from your seats. We'll resume here in this room in that 5 minutes. Thank you, Jose.